Every single case, it's some little black asshole behaving like a savage, and he gets himself in trouble, shockingly enough.
Okay. My name is Ronnie Brock. I live here in the city of Macomb. This has been my home all my life. I am presently a council member here, a selectman from Ward 5, City of Macomb.
Okay, my name is Anthony Witherspoon from Magnolia, Mississippi, and I serve currently as the mayor of that city of Magnolia and been serving there since July 1st, 2014. This makes my second term.
My name is Donovan Riyad Hill. I'm from the LJS community of the city of Macomb, Mississippi, and my title is City Selectman of Ward 4 for the city of Macomb.
My name is Albert Eubanks. I'm a selectman here at Ward 3, City of Macomb.
That image, Confederate flag. My first experience here in Macomb with the Confederate flag, which we now know as a state flag, was noticing that we had a certain group of people that wore that flag proudly, so to speak, and a certain group of people, African Americans, that did not, you ever saw with that emblem. So that pushed my curiosity to what's this all about?
And my first experience with it was through lessons that my father taught me about what that emblem stood for. And I got to be honest, it was hard to not associate that, you know, with a race of people in a very stereotypical way. It took me sometimes to grow to learn that, you know, all white people in Mississippi or in the South didn't feel the same way about that flag. When I look at it, I think about the Klan. That's one of the first things that comes to mind. Then and now. Yeah.
Brings images of supremacy, white supremacy over minorities. As my grandfather had showed me early in my life and late in his, what that represented. Basically, that represented the South's ability to let those minorities know, even though we lost the war, the flag still flies, and you're gonna live under our domination.
Something I could relate back to the flag after learning about the history of it was when I was in the 8th grade, one of my fellow teammates, his name is Joshua Everett, a white male. We were walking back to the field, to the school after practice from the field house. And we were cracking jokes like we always do. You know how children, how guys handwrite each other. And I don't think he liked the joke that everybody had on him, and he referred to me as the N-word. And before I knew it, my reaction towards him was, I ended up beating him up. But that was my first time ever dealing with racism or being degraded by a word that was used to degrade my ancestors.
When you held that flag up, the first word that came to mind was oppression, because it's still pretty oppressive today.
So as growing up here in Macomb, as a young teenager, my first negative experience with that flag was downtown Macomb at a electronics store that was across my Eisworth Motors. And I went there as a young kid to find out something about electronics. Didn't have any money, broke, but I was curious. And upon entering the store, I noticed that that flag was boldly displayed there on the wall. So as I began to ask the owner about different electronic parts and whatnot, I guess he had a sense that I didn't have any money. He said, if you little niggas don't get out of here, I'm gonna put you out. And that kind of burned into my brain at that point. The sense of that person with that amount of anger and that flag was again. So it kind of pushed my curiosity to want to know more about the Confederate flag because it wasn't taught in the local school district.
And with our President Barack Obama being in office, brought a lot of feelings out of a lot of people, and we were starting to see how people really felt here in America.
A race of people, minorities in general, should not have to live up under the auspices of the old South, of the Confederate South. We should have moved beyond that point long ago.
You hear that the war wasn't about slavery. It was about slavery. Mississippi succeeded from the Union because of that. They introduced that. If you allow me to read something, I can state exactly what Mississippi said. This is the reason when Mississippi withdrew or seceded from the Union, the United States of America, that was an act of treason. The Constitution said that was an act of treason. Now, when Mississippi submitted their succession letter, or the reason that they withdrew from the Union, this is the reason they gave. It says, our position is thoroughly identified with the institution of slavery. This is a written document submitted by the state of Mississippi. The greatest material interest of the world, its labor supplies the product, which is cotton, which constitutes by far the largest and most important portion of commerce of the earth. These products are particular to the climate version on the tropical region and by none but an imperious law of nature. None but the black race can bear exposure to the tropical sun. When you read that, I have flashbacks. I have flashbacks from my daddy talking about the time that he's picked cotton from sun up to sundown.
To have minorities to come into City Hall, to pay their water bills, to come and do city businesses while they walking up under that flag, it meant that we needed to take it down.
But it was becoming more verbal and more physical, and it became a national issue, so I took it upon myself. I hold an office in a political field, so it was my responsibility and the other two selectmen responsibility to make sure that we follow through as well.
My name is Lakia Washington. I work at Summit Elementary. I'm the lead learner and principal there. And I love the state of Mississippi, and I'm proud of my roots. But what kind of pushed me into even thinking about it is that I have little ones. That are full of promise and full of promise and hope for tomorrow. And for them, and they may not even understand it, some of them do, and some of them thoroughly understand it, and they thoroughly understand what it's associated with in terms of history. And for them to have have that symbol that they have to encounter every single day of the past, of the very tainted past, for a huge faction of our world, of our society, and for them to have to endure that, whether it's passive and they're not really knowing what's going on, it's still a symbol that they're having to endure. And for those of the scholars that are older, they know exactly what it means, and for them to have to experience that also kind of pushed me into the thought process that they are the hope for the future Why are we holding on to a past that in many parts of it are offensive to many people, and not just African American people? So that is kind of what ignited the push, and it just kind of happened, you know.
There was backlash. There were flag supporters who organized a unannounced rally at City Hall. In retrospect, it was good. It was good because, again, it opened up some dialogue on the steps of City Hall. One of my schoolmate, Anjanou Ellis, actress, Anjanou Ellis, came and participated in that dialogue. And it was interesting to see and hear from both sides and both perspectives on that debate. Things did not get out of hand. So it actually debunked a lot of fear among people that, you know, such a thing can happen without it, you know, spinning off into a chaotic, violent situation.
If you look in Webster defined heritage as something that you're supposed to be proud of, joyful of, you know. And when you talk about heritage and the Confederate flag, the two don't mix. If you wanna bound those two, and you're a supporter of a Confederate flag, and you wanna bound that with heritage, well, you got to be proud of something that's hateful, deceitful, embarrassing, has caused many deaths. So you have to go beyond than speaking the words, "It's my heritage." You have to define what heritage means, and what does that mean in the context of a Confederate flag. Heritage is something you're supposed to be proud of. Are you proud of fighting a war to maintain slavery?
My name is Lynn Gilmore. Currently, I serve as a member of the school board for the Macomb School District. There have been so many things that we have done as a state to hinder progress, and to say that you want to hold on to different things that are actually relics of the past, where you want to display them, where your so-called heritage can be at the forefront, well then I liken it to a person who really doesn't fully want to understand another person's point of view.
I'm sure, you know, dictators like Saddam Hussein, they had a heritage, you know. But is it right to, you know, state sponsor the glorification of that heritage? No. If you want to do that individually, that's, hey, have at it, you know. But to take my tax dollars and to state sponsor a heritage of hate, I'm gonna call it what it is, and people who think that there's no issue with doing so, tells me that we have a problem.
The first time we tried to get it taken down was we called for peace. And we're getting phone calls about it, you know, people was coming to the board talking about it, so we just called peace amongst our city. And the other fellow Republicans, the white males, they didn't respond in the way that I thought they would. So we constantly asked for them to take it down. And the way our board is set up, it's a 3-3 vote. We have 3 blacks, 3 whites, and 1 white mayor. And if the vote is split, then 9 times out of 10, he's gonna vote with his people that look like him.
Making the decision was easy. Again, I always knew if I had the opportunity to do it, I was gonna do it, because it was the right thing to do for the people as a whole, all people. The meeting that we had, that we actually removed the flag, it was effortless. It wasn't planned. I was happy to have a board that was there that knew parliamentary procedure. That added to the simplicity of it.
One day, I had just returned to town. I wasn't even supposed to make the board meeting. So I reached down to my desk with my list of things that I keep just in case they are late, just in case we do have an opportunity to make some things happen. And I initiated it, and I asked for 2 items to be added to the agenda. And
when the measure came around to the 2 items that we were going to add to the agenda, that's when friction started to build by one of the selectmen, Mr. Tullis. And those 2 measures were to remove the flag off all city properties and also to rebuild Martin Luther King Center. Our request was to have those items put at the very top of the agenda. When that request was made, the mayor of the city of Macomb said it was out of order.
Selectman Eubanks motioned to overrule the chair, which took the mayor out of the place of controlling the board meeting and put it into the people that had the majority that day, which was us. So the first item of business was to take the flag down. That happened quickly.
During the discussion, I made one comment following Mr. Ted Tullis' comment, and his comment was he believed that the Confederate flag should stay. It was his heritage. He was proud of it. And it just kind of stunned me, and I sit there for a minute. I just couldn't hold it any longer, and I told Mr. Tullis that flag wasn't a part of me, and I definitely wasn't proud of it. We proceeded to vote, and the vote was 3-1 to remove the flag, and it was very little resistance. However, later that night, Facebook blew up. It blew up from some of the council members allowing the platform there on Facebook to engage with hate. I call it hate.
They're absolutely right about half of that. It's their heritage, but they're wrong about the other part, that it does not promote hate. And again, if you can't see where systematically state-sponsored slavery and oppression is hatred, then we have a deeper issue to deal with.
I would not want to have a heritage of hate, of slavery, of death, of denying people their God-given rights, their constitutional rights, And if that's the case, then we have to have dialogue and explain to them what it means to you. It means something totally different to me. And if I'm a citizen of the city, I would want all my citizens to be happy, not just a select few.
Well, I can care less about that piece of cloth you got sitting over there. It's about what the people that actually have value and what the flag represents. And because the flag represents a lot of hatred, represents slavery, it represents murder, it represents a lot of different things that this nation was founded on. And this nation was founded on those things, and until we address the people, not the flag, but the people that have initiated a lot of the things that we suffer from today, then no matter the flag is up or down, we're still gonna suffer from it.
When we make a decision to try to exclude any person, whether that person is a disabled person, that person may have other issues going on, when we begin to try to exclude them, well then, what are we teaching our children? And so, for me, the flag and removing the state flag from our public schools, it meant that I, as an adult in the lives of the 2,800 or so students that we have, as an adult person in their life, that I knew that I had to make that decision so that they could understand that I'm fighting for them in every way that I possibly can.
Just still a very, very just poignant feeling of it reminds me of just disconnectedness in the community, in the state, in the nation. That is the reminder. And I think we've come a long way in so many areas, and for that to be like the symbol and the reminder for me, and I'm just speaking for me, for that to be a symbol and a constant reminder to me is not symbolic of the true steps that have been taken in terms of coming together, you know. And I think we have come a lot further than that flag will ever represent. Yep.
I'm gonna do what the President of the Confederacy said it should be done, and that is to fold it and put it away.